And now the moment you've all been waiting for. But thank you, everyone. That was excellent. I think that was a good foundation for how we'll end the conversation tonight. And first of all, thank you for your time tonight. Head of AI at Optus. You can have a lot of idle time in your day, so really appreciate your time. Tonight we're gonna have a little bit of a real conversation about agentic AI. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of talk about what is AI, and in the context of private capital markets, that's even a deeper conversation, right? So we'll take you through sort of the chats that we normally have, Jesse and I. And maybe let's start with the first question. I just came back from San Francisco. We were invited to the largest tech conference in the world, Salesforce Dreamforce, mainly because we were some of the pioneers in building agentic AI solutions in the Salesforce ecosystem. And what I tell my team is, I feel like I came from the future. The conversation is really advanced there. There are many steps ahead, and it feels to me like they've gone past the might we implement AI? How do we implement it? Should we consider implementing agentic AI? Feels like the conversation has already passed those steps, and it's now more how do we do it in a way that's trusted, that's reliable, that's repeatable. Where do you think Australia is in that curve of innovation and adoption?
Perfect. Well, thanks, Diego. Thanks all for your time this evening. I think what is fascinating about the Australian market when it comes to AI is that we're actually seeing this huge shift, which is to say that it felt like a year ago, the conversations were about, is this thing real? Is this just the next big tech trend that is going to disappoint us? And I think what we've seen over the last 12 months is a real explosion in not only new businesses emerging that are building their products and their platforms with artificial intelligence at the core, but also large enterprises beginning to use it and to understand the value and the implications of AI to the products and services that they offer. And so at least what I see is that we're actually at this point to say everybody's now extracting value from the technology, and the questions are beginning to shift to not about should we do this, but how can we do this faster and how can we do this safer? And so I think we're at this inflection point where we're going to see this huge shift in focus towards acceleration using AI, which I think poses many opportunities in the Australian economy, but also then poses many risks and challenges around the implications of the technology to our economy and to our workforces.
Yeah, that's right. And that's sort of what I saw in the future. I noticed that, it's all about speed now. It's all about how fast can you move, how the velocity that you can keep in innovation. And we've been deploying agentic AI solutions for 3 years now, before agentic was a buzzword. And early on, we realized, and what I've noticed over the past few years is you either focus on automation or you focus on augmentation, or you focus on a mix of both, right? So humans with AI in collaboration. Where do you see that taking shift in the private capital markets, and where do you think companies should focus on?
It feels like at the moment there's, I think, a lot of dreams around like pure agentic AI, being able to automate process and workflows end to end. However, I don't think we're there yet. And I think really where we're at with AI is that it's a tool to really enable, to empower, and to supercharge people in our teams and in our workforces. And so when you think about the ability for it to help being somebody in marketing, being able to develop content or collateral, to go find the right audiences for content, jobs and tasks that may have taken days, weeks, months, in some cases years for large organizations, can be done in seconds and minutes using the technology. And so I don't think it's a case of letting the technology do it itself completely, because I don't think we're quite there yet. However, it's how do you help supercharge the people inside our businesses, inside our workforces, to get more done using the technology.
Supercharge is a word that you use a few times, and I could go in many directions here, but specifically in private capital markets, how do you think agentic AI and AI will supercharge specifically private capital markets?
So I guess my view on this, it sits at a couple of different layers. I think first is that for investors, I think it'll make the process of investing simpler, easier, and faster. The ability for you to now conduct research, find new investment opportunities, and then to be able to understand the implications of that on your portfolio, forecast the future implications, can be done in, again, seconds of units. Jobs that may have taken weeks, months of efforts, or the best efforts of teams of advisors supporting you can now be done instantly. Even while I was watching Steve's opening and looking at some of the figures on high net wealth individuals of Australia, wrote a prompt, had ChatGPT 5, the deep reasoning agent, review 172 sources of economic data that exists in Australia, international research on high net wealth individual market movements, the value at stake, and came back and validated all of Steve's figures. So kudos, Steve. But it's an example of that, of having a team of experts being able to connect to data in real time, sitting in everybody's eye. And so I kind of go for the investor, the game changes instantly, which is to go, a lot of the information asymmetry that we may have had in the past disappears. But then for, I think, people in the shoes of being at the issuer, all of a sudden the ability for you to access private capital and to diversify your access to private capital actually again becomes simpler, easier, and faster. Like your ability to now set up campaigns, be able to engage investors, and to engage them in truly personalized ways, not just big blasts or knowing people and kind of giving the nudge on the deal, but actually being able to use digital channels to do this at scale opens up so many opportunities to make the whole ecosystem, again, better, faster, safer. And I think that's the big opportunity, is that when we connect both those things, unlocks so much growth in the economy, but also then huge opportunity for issuers and investors at the same time.
Unlock is the other keyword they use a lot. And I feel like agentic AI is unlocking full potential of humans, of economies, of companies. Private capital markets have always been about human relationships, as you know, and who you know and who you talk to, and the human aspect of it. How do you think the embedding of agentic systems and AI systems in private capital markets will evolve to keep some of that humanity and, but taking it to the next level?
It feels like it'll do one or two things. I think for many relationships that exist, actually strengthens. And I think, again, it comes down to that ability for the machines to be able to help you with analyzing vast amounts of data, being able to help you assess opportunities. And so instead of us sizing each other up or we're meeting each other, all of a sudden you have access to fact, knowledge, data, intelligence. That means that the relationship that you have, like many of us are forming in the room tonight, become even more important. Simultaneously, though, I think there's a new class of investor that is emerging, particularly in the Australian economy, that are digital native. They are being brought up using these tools and these services as part of their everyday life. And so you think about that in the context of the private capital markets, it's materially different to the way that they've operated in the past. And so the ability to have them have access to the private capital markets through digital platforms that are always online, always available 24/7, the ability for them to do it from the comfort of their home, their bed, or wherever they are on holidays, the ability for them to not speak to a human in the end-to-end journey also becomes possible with platforms like VentureCrowd, but this shift as well. So I think it'll do two things. I think it'll strengthen relationships and in some ways make us more human with each other, but then inversely also take the humans out of the loop and open up more opportunity at the same time, depending on, again, your experience and your preferences too.
Spot on. I think it helps us, spend less time on toil and more time on the things that add value and the things that you're really good at. Now, I'm really conscious that I am the last person holding you back from a glass of wine. And I've actually never had a 10-minute conversation with Jesse, ever. Normally, we would lock a room for 4 hours and talk away. So I'm really holding back. But, as a builder and as a builder, we always like to compare the innovations that we build. What is the most exciting thing that you feel we're working on at VentureCrowd right now, in terms of AI and agentic AI that you're excited to see what comes next out of it?
So one of the things that actually hooked me, we first were discussing the roadmap, the technology, and looking at the architecture that Rebecca brought up just briefly before, was actually this. It's quite a simple idea, but it's brilliant. And that is a marketing campaign agent. And having worked in very large enterprises, inside Optus now for a year, before that, the Commonwealth Bank for a decade, leading all their emerging tech and innovation, looking at these big processes like marketing and seeing all of the different handoffs, all of the different people that exist in that value chain, mean that this will sound odd to anybody that hasn't worked in enterprise, but simple things like drafting an email and sending it to a group of customers could take 16 weeks.
Compliance,
the data team, the data team trying to figure out the audience, scheduling it with the comms team, like getting brand to review, compliance, legal. There are so many different stakeholders in that value chain. And getting to see the way that you had thought about campaign execution using agentic AI to say, well, what if you were to, in effect, parallelize the process, so have all of these steps run by agents all at once, and then kick out to a human when it's needed, so for compliance review, but fundamentally have AI help with drafting the communications, developing the asset, doing the data analysis to find out who has the propensity to invest and why, personalizing the communications to them, kicking it out for review by legal, and then pushing the big green button. I kind of looked at that and went, it's probably 16 weeks of work in enterprise that I watched get done in under 2 minutes. Incredible. Actually blew my locked. So when you think about that in the context of the platform, when I looked at the issuer journey, which is fundamentally about executing campaigns, the velocity of the capability of putting that in the hands of an issuer on the platform is incredible. And I think that such a core foundational process that you've made literally many, many, many times better. So that to me is like real world example of AI being used to help make something better, faster, safer. In terms of like the future roadmap, looking at things like how we start to expose AI to help with issuers setting up campaigns and helping them with positioning, particularly in the venture space. Super interesting, using all of the intelligence of many years worth of deals and transactions to help figure out what works best. Incredible. But then again, also just even some of the core machine learning work around figuring out if it's the modeling from the entire audience base and investor base and trying to figure out what do people want and buy, connecting them to that, I think will help create more journeys like James or fake James through the platform again and again and again. So very, very excited, very, very proud to be a part of the team.
Thanks, Jesse. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and getting your advice, your feedback. It's been super valuable. I think I just want to end with one note. For us, when we talk about agentic AI in the context of private capital markets, it's not just deploying AI for the sake of AI because it's trending. I genuinely believe that it will be the greatest advancement that we can have in unlocking private capital markets and providing access at scale. Technology has been and will continue to be the greatest enabler in that kind of progress and access. And what we're seeing with AI is something that we've never seen before, and it will accelerate things dramatically. And for us at VentureCrowd right now, that's giving us speed in product development that we've never had before. So we're really excited about what's next. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I will hand over to Steve. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.